That's what you want to do, boy. It's on you.
Well, I mean, I love you, Jay. Like,
That out the way.
all right.
Hmm.
All right, Jay. So now that we've watched the movie, The Red Pill, like, what are your thoughts? I know that you, I know that we've known those facts for a long time about feminism and whatnot, but what are your thoughts on that? Like the whole movie.
I thought it was about a 6 out of 10. They didn't really go anywhere. I thought it would have more of a. Like I said, these aren't facts that are hard to find, and they're not hard to fact check. Like, and again, you saw that the director of the movie was having a hard time. Uh, what was it? She was having like an inner struggle on what to believe and what not to believe, because as much patriarchy as it is, you can look feminism as patriarchy because she was like, oh, I immediately want to talk out whenever I hear the men talk about men's issues about women's issues, and I didn't feel I was right for that. It's like she's exactly right. She's not right for that, and you can't really like one of the interviewees was saying. There's no real way to quantify loss to loss. And I didn't like how they didn't mention the fact that with most rationalized feminists, they do make up a lot of facts, or they are disingenuous with their facts.
Okay. But so what do you think is going to happen? But now with this
Like,
movie
are
being
you gonna
brought,
answer your own question? This
no,
isn't
no,
an
I'm
interview about
fine,
me. Like,
fine. Okay, fair enough. Well, personally, I thought it was a pretty decent movie. I agree with you with the whole that it was a pretty common knowledge movie that everything that they talked about and everything that they discussed was just common knowledge, for lack of a better word. And I did notice that she was having a lot harder time trying to keep the story going. She was, you could just tell that she just wanted to talk about feminism and just wanted to combat men's rights. And I don't know, in my opinion, I believe that she did play it out right, though. She was aware that she didn't need to bring up her own opinion because the movie wasn't about her opinion, it was about what was going on. And gosh, I forgot what I was going to say. And I think that it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen next, because it's kind of following into my next question of there's been a lot of feminist rants going on throughout the news, obviously, but this is the first bringing up of men's issues. And what do you think that's going to do to the culture?
it's gonna get swept under the rug probably. It can go any of a few ways. One, just like it is, like how they addressed it, a lot of it's getting swept under the rug because whenever something that comes out that tries to be fair or non-biased or critical thinking of radical feminism, it gets shut down by feminism. By a radical feminist, excuse me.
Well, and it's well, when this movie came out, a lot of feminists tried to shut it down and get it removed from theaters. Many of them even just bought tickets to fill the theaters and never saw it, just so people couldn't buy tickets to it.
I didn't even know it was a movie until you said something.
Yeah, and it was actually a movie that went into some theaters. But and I agree with you there that it might try to get swept under the rug, but my thinking is that it's at least being brought to the attention of the public now. I know that it has been tried, or the topic's been tried to been tried to bring up to the public, but I believe that now that someone's actually doing it, there might be more of a rippling effect, and there might be more people coming up with other videos and other movies and other topics and articles to go with this movie. But I don't know, but enough about what the movie actually was. I don't know. I more or less wanted to talk about like your actual opinions of feminism because I know you and I talk about it a lot, but I don't know. I just find it's always interesting to talk about opinions and what people think. And and I remember in the beginning of the movie they started talking about how men have a scary life. Men have to be providers. Men have to do this and that. We have some sort of social reform that we need to conform to, but
Gender
don't need to.
roles. It's not like gender
The
roles are a
gender.
new thing. It's just
I know.
to what extreme we take them is what's important. Oh shit, Gare. Gare. Fuck.
I died. But and I know gender roles isn't a new thing by any means. But what I'm trying to get at is like the whole idea of like the draft. And I know women are now able to join the draft, but what are your thoughts on it
Wasn't
being
that
mandatory?
isn't that New Zealand? They're mandatory to take the draft.
No, women can join the draft. Men are mandatory to
No,
join the
there's
draft.
what was it? It was late 2015, I think. Some lady like was talking about how was given the example of how like things were uneven. And a lot of people got mad at her after they passed a law. I think it was New Zealand or something like that, where now women are now mandatory to sign up for the draft once they hit 18. It's not the U.S. It's a different country.
Well, and what are your takes on that? Do you think that we should try to adopt something like that, or?
I think it's relative. Like, what do we? And it's also like what it's mainly not really up to it's the government really because I'm sorry, it's mainly up to the people when it comes down to it. Because like you look at shit, I was going somewhere with this. It's mainly up to the people because when the people are opposed to something, then it just won't happen. Like for instance, during Obama's era, he wanted to put more money into education, but people wanted more money put into the military. Now the military wanted more money put into education so that they'd have smarter officers, to work with the advancements of technology, especially in war. And nobody really fucking listened to that. So the government wants to put money into fucking education. The people wanted to put it into military. The military wants it put into education. Guess where the money went? Fucking military and not education. Like, because the people thought it'd be better the U.S. people, excuse me, being a American, I'm not used to saying the U.S. people. I'm using it broadly, wanted it put into government. Wanted it put into the military, even though that's not what the military wanted.
Well, that reminds me of I was watching a stand-up show last night that Netflix produced by these comedians called the Lucas Brothers. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
I saw it on Netflix. I didn't watch it though.
They're pretty decent. It kind of their comedic style kind of feels like a local comedy club. But one topic they kind of hit on was the idea of like Super Bowl players, NFL players, and teachers. And what they said is that then I can't give out, or it's not that I can't, but I don't know any names. I don't watch football or anything like that. But what they said is that this NFL player would have gotten $100 million contract, but only got $20 million because it was a potential contract and he got bought out for 20. And they were saying, well, what if we did that to teachers? So teachers, we can guarantee you $100 million contract, but we're only going to give you 20 grand. Like, and they hit on the topic that we just really underpay our teachers. And I know that's probably a topic that's just been, beaten to death. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's valid reasoning, and then you can also go into with that. A lot of people in the video were a lot of the blue pill society, I'll call them, were debating that men dominate sports. But again, that goes back to what I was saying. That's up to the public. If you look at women's basketball, right? Women's basketball is very prolific. It's not bad by any means. But the reason why men dominate and get paid more is because guess who comes to more basketball games? The people. Guess who shows up at women's basketball games? No one. And that's not the fault of male basketball players. They get paid more because guess what? All of the male NBA gets more money. That's not the fault of male NBA players because they're being men. That's the act of male and female basketball fans only watching male football. Look at, and I'm sorry, I said football. I meant basketball. Basketball. It's not up
Well, I
to
mean,
the players.
there is a women's football.
No, there is a women's football, but it's very skin clad.
Yeah, that's very
Skin clad.
yeah, skin clad.
Yeah.
But back to the whole idea of gender roles, 'cause we started talking about the NBA and we ended up with teachers. Back to the whole idea of military, and if women in the U.S. should be forced to join the draft. Well, and I remember at one point they said in the movie the Blue Pill Society, like you said, they said that men fear women, because women are coming for jobs and things like that. Men are afraid that women are going to come take their jobs, even though women aren't signing up for the jobs that men have.
The highest, they're not signing up for the higher paying jobs is the thing. The reason why, and they didn't cover this in the well, you were in the bathroom, she was writing on a wall with sticky notes. I don't know if you saw. And
No,
it
I
was
did
like
not.
women choose to make less, and that is been proven by like a feminist called Dr. Summers, who works out of the I think it's the University of Utah, I believe it is, and she did a study running that women will statistically, time after time, choose lesser paying jobs, such as social work and education, whereas men will choose higher paying careers. And again, that goes back to the fault of people. It's not a patriarchy of any kind. No one's forcing. We can't force women to take science jobs if they don't want to work in science. And what does that mean? That means we have less women in science. And then whose fucking fault is that? It's not the men's fault at all. It's not the patriarchs. It's the women. If a woman wants to go into the field work of bioengineering or fucking gene manipulation, she's more than welcome to. She's more than welcome to apply herself to do what she wants. But we can't force her because we want to make the quota of having more women in that field. That's just how it is.
And I see what you're saying there is, and that's where women get the idea of the wage gap, is that, there's this huge wage gap and that 4% of CEOs in the Fortune 500 are women. But the thing is that first off, they don't really understand how CEO positions in the Fortune 500 companies work. And I mean, I've never been a part of it, but it doesn't take a genius to know that to becoming a CEO of a Fortune 500, such as Walmart or Trump Enterprises, something like that, right? That you have to know a guy. You have to be buddies with the current CEO, the guy who's going to step down. You have to be trusted by the guy who's going to give you the job. And most of the time, it's by a guy because he's been friends with them. And a lot of feminists hit on the topic that, well, they have the degrees, they have this, they have that. Well, that may be true, but someone with a doctorate can steal from a company. Whereas this guy who's been known by the owner for 20, 30 years is trusted. He says, well, I've known this guy so long, and I know he's not going to run my company into the ground. I know he's going to uphold these values. Whereas someone who just came out of college or who has a tremendous amount of credentials academic-wise, he doesn't know them. He doesn't know what they're liable to do with his company. And a lot of feminists hit on the idea of those CEO positions, but they don't realize that most of the time it's just handed off and not really earned.
But then we also go into choice again. Daddy is a CEO of a company. and he has 4 kids. Out of those 4 kids, who wants the job? It's usually the male who wants the job. The women go off and do what they want, and the other kids, even if they're male, will go off and nobody wants to take daddy's job. But if one does, it usually happens to be the male that does take the
But
job, and that
well,
goes on both of what we're saying. Not only is it who you know because it was daddy's job, but it's also like your choice. Nobody's forcing women to be CEOs, and they're not being denied CEO positions because they're women. It's how many women are going for these CEO positions.
and that's true as well. And I remember, and this is bringing it to a real life scenario. When I lived out in Colorado, there was this family fun center, and it was a very good family fun center. It always was packed with people. It always it was a very prosperous, and it was just a good business. It was just a good business practice. They made money, and they suited to the wants and interests of the public. Well, the owner of it decided that he wanted to retire. He didn't want to keep going with that business, but he wanted his daughter to take it. He wanted his daughter to keep going. Now, mind you, she could have made well over 6 figures a year with this business, and she didn't have to run it. She just had to have the managers and the other board members run it. She just had to own it. Well, she didn't want to own it. She sold the building and the name, and now the building's just a giant call center. But that's going to what you just said is, who wants it? And she didn't take on the opportunity of being a millionaire because she didn't want that responsibility.
It also goes into the fact of why men are in history is because men take more, or statistically take more risk. And the daughter in your story didn't want to take the risk of, being responsible for that business. It's not that she was lacking in responsibility. She didn't want to risk, ruining daddy's company or, I'm not using daddy ironically. I'm using it like,
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Taking, running daddy's company in the ground, possibly disappointing him. And again, I wouldn't want to disappoint my mother or father either by ruining their company. I probably would bail out too. I've coming from the background of, my parent making a shit ton of money, I'm probably pretty good where I am right now, and I don't need a company. I want to follow my own path, and again, just like any other person would. This isn't a gender issue. It's a person issue. And people just want to label it what they want to label it.
Well, and going back to when I was saying with the blue pill girl that you remember the one that I said that I just really didn't like in the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
She said something that just kind of pinched a nerve with me, and it is back to the whole men are afraid of women. Men are coming for the degrees. Women are coming for the job titles, and men won't have that. And it's back to this whole, I don't see women grabbing the job titles that they're supposed to be talking about. And to go into consideration is my sister's husband. He's the manager of an offshore oil rig, right?
Wait, the ranch owner?
And yeah.
Oh, okay.
And there are no women working there.
Mm-hmm.
These are men that for half the month they fly out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. They work on this rig away from their families, and then they come back for a week or two, and then they have to go back out and do that. And working that oil rig is an extremely dangerous job, and it's very, very physical. They do a lot there. And my thinking is that I'd love to see one of these modern feminists pick up a job like that and come back.
Okay, you might want to go one down. I didn't think you were gonna do that.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
But I'd love to see a feminist take on a job like that and see their opinion of the jobs that they're taking. That makes sense.
Say that again. I'm sorry. I was looking at
Or
something.
did you, or would you not hear it?
I heard you'd love to see women, a woman try and pick up a job like that.
And see how that pans out in the eyes of the public.
I mean, I doubt she. I don't know. She might get more like a thing, just like how they were talking about the. I totally forgot the name of it. Bring Our Girls Back.
Um, the Bring Our Girls Back, Michelle Obama.
Yeah, but what was the country it was happening in?
It was a small country in Africa.
Yeah, how they were like, the boys were getting killed all the time, and it wasn't until the girls were being stolen that anyone said anything. So, the attention is where the women go.
Then they did hit on that point, and that made a lot of sense. It really did. That the public doesn't care until they take take girls. And what bothers me though is that feminists hit that, right. They get on that topic of, oh, they took these girls but they're killing all these guys, and it's not the whole fact for me that they're ignoring the guys, but it's how they're viewing the girls. The second that a girl goes missing, the news is all over it, and I believe that it's because that the people who are portraying those stories believe that women are a weaker sex. They believe that women are helpless. Women need to be saved. Where, oh, the men were kidnapped. Oh, 30 men were kidnapped. Oh, well, they get themselves out of it. Where, a bunch of girls were kidnapped. Oh, now it's mass media and the world has to support it.
It's not they have to, they did.
And they did. But do you see what I'm trying to say?
I feel like that's based around the fallacies of what we are as a first world society. Not even a first world, just as a society in general. Just where we've come from and where we stand right now. One of our fallacies is that, something happens with men because, as one of the honey badgers and one of the ideals went around, men are, by quote-unquote, disposable. And as much as I didn't like that wording, it wasn't incorrect.
Well, and it's funny is that, honestly, that wording hit home for me. Because, and that's why I brought up the draft thing earlier, and why I was asking if you believe that women should be forced to, is because I never signed up for the draft. But I remember when I moved, I got in the mail a letter, and I got my draft card. And
you get a card?
Yeah, I got a card saying
that
I'm enrolled for the draft. You might not have gotten one, but you are in the draft.
Yeah, I did electronically. I signed up.
But when I got that card, it kind of hit me, thinking, that I'm expendable to the government. At the end of the day, if I had to be called into the line of duty, that I'm an expendable person. And
I don't know how I feel about that, because you can still choose. You have to take a test to examine your MOS. So it's not, you could be an intelligence officer and work in, you don't have to be expendable as a soldier.
It's wherever I end up.
I see where you're getting at, but but then it also goes into the fact, like, for me, I don't think I would be ashamed to die for my country, but that's because of how I feel and how I've grown up, socially, economically.
I wouldn't be ashamed to die for my country, but
I've grown up in that mentally thinking that I'm a man, so me dying for my country is an honorable thing.
Well, and I understand that, but I believe that. And here's the thing: is that a lot of people hit the whole draft thing because at the end of the day, it is a scary thing, and with today's modern society, it could be a real thing.
Tomorrow.
Huh?
Literally tomorrow.
Yeah,
Like
you know,
literally.
with the whole issue of North Korea and China right now. But my thing is even if we don't send women to combat, I believe that they should be forced to sign up for the draft because, and it's not so much of a scare tactic to say, oh, if we have to die for our country, so do you. It's more of putting everyone in the same boat because you know how the draft system works, right?
If our country
It's
goes to war, then like we get
no.
drafted.
Well, you know how they choose, right?
You know how they choose?
Who goes?
Yeah.
It's a lottery system. They literally draw people of this age or people of this time frame who were born in this month. We send them all letters and draft them. It's just completely random. They flip a coin of who goes. And I remember I was watching a documentary on the draft, and I can't remember what politician said it, but it was the one that conducts the drafting and comes up with the plans. And they said that they hated their job. They said that at the end of the day, you have to come up with a system to decide who lives and who dies. And and at the end of the day, it's just a weird feeling knowing that at any moment you could be called to die for your country. And I believe that if feminists want to be deemed as equals to men, that they should be put in the same boat and fear that maybe one day they might have to die for their country.
Hmm. I don't think we have combatants though, or do we? How many women are put into combat though? I'm sure,
A lot,
don't a lot of them
at
go
least.
into intelligence or officers candidate school?
Um, so it depends where they want to go. Quite a few do go into combat nowadays, or at least they're deployed now. Since we're not technically in a war at the moment. Um, but women have seen, and most recently they are seeing more combat, but there are a lot more males out in the field. But I like it's I have a few friends in the military, as you know, and and what's funny is I've got one in the Navy, or two in the Navy really, and three in the Marines, right?
Hmm.
And
I mean,
two
technically
that,
the Marines is jurisdiction of the Navy, but go ahead.
but here's the thing: is that two of the friends that were in the Marines, or actually all of them, they were all in Okinawa
Hmm.
in Japan. And ever since this whole missile crisis with North Korea, I've been watching their Snapchats, and one day they were all taking pictures in Japan, in Tokyo, and then the next day they were all in South Korea. After we sent a naval or an ACC over to
The
watch North Korea,
carrier, right?
yeah, an
Yeah.
aircraft carrier over to the waters of South Korea to work with them. And I just thought that was funny that, or it kind of hit that it's a realistic possibility that we might go to war soon.
Hmm. Did you have a follow up question or?
Oh, sorry, I was looking at something.
Yeah, how do you
But
build a furnace, by the way? I feel like I should have one already.
it's stone, and none of us have been collecting
I
stone.
have, that's why I'm asking. I have
Stone.
150 stone, like what the fuck?
Or toss it here.
Yeah, go
But
ahead.
at one point the movie hit on the idea of paternity fraud. And how are your feelings on that?
So
How
I've actually seen a bunch. Do you have mana gear?
one mana.
Okay, I was like, I thought that was weird. Um, I've actually seen some like worse cases than what I saw. One guy had no problem paying for his child support because he loved his daughter and everything, but then the mother went out of state and he couldn't find her, so he hired a private investigator, and he found that she was living with her boyfriend, mom and daughter, and
Hmm.
it later goes out to find that it wasn't his daughter at all. So he's a vet who's been paying child support to a daughter that isn't his. So not only does he still want visitation, but he kind of wanted a bit of a refund, just because it's not his kid, and they
Yes.
wouldn't reimburse him by any means,
Well,
and he's still liable to pay.
well, it's like what they hit that topic or the scenario where I can't remember what state, I believe it was in Utah, that a guy was forced to pay child support payments just because an
It,
ex-girlfriend of his put his name down
for the benefits for welfare.
for the benefits of welfare. And it's not even his kid, and they haven't been together for years, and just because she put his name down, now he's forced to pay them. And
Pay child support.
I pay child support. And I believe that that needs to get cracked down. And obviously a lot of people do. It's starting to become an issue, or an issue that's being brought up to the public. But one of the scariest things, and I don't want to really compare it to feminism or anything, but I'm just going to kind of talk about, how I feel, is that men live in a society where, like everyone says, that we're supposed to be viewed as, masculine, but that doesn't have to necessarily mean, building cars and things like that, but more of a taking action and or step up to the plate to do something. And I remember hearing from someone that that a woman would not want to be a man because of the
Social
what's the term
pressures.
for it? Social pressures that we have, because if you're a man and say you see a girl that you like, right? Like, oh, this girl's cute, and I want to get to know her. Well, if you go up and hit on her, you're a creep. Or you go to talk to her, you're a creep now.
But if you don't
But
talk
if
to
you
her, you're a beta
don't,
male.
yeah, you're less than a man for some reason. And but the thing is now with modern day feminism, if you go and talk to a girl like that or try to flirt with
It's
her,
rape.
now you're raping
Yep,
her.
it's rape.
And I don't know if you know about this, but recently in the state of New York, and I think you might have told me this, they passed a law where if you misgender someone or misidentify them, they can sue you up to
No,
$250,000.
no, no, no. It was I remember the story. It was, what was it? It was a woman, a transgender woman who told people her gender, and they kept misgendering her. But initially, like, fucking, she made it sound like they were just doing it by accident. They were actually bullying her. That's what it was.
Mm.
So, she was originally a man.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it got misjudged onto, oh, it was just an accident, because being an ex-man gave her less privilege. And there's the thing, like, feminism is supposed to stand up for equality for everyone. Like, it's supposed to be for women old and new. Like,
Hmm. Well, and I remember a few years ago when I first started learning about what third wave feminism was and how counterintuitive it is and redundant it is, and the lack of common sense that third wave feminism has. And I remember I went up to my mom, and mind you, my mom was an old school feminist. So, my mom's 65 years old,
give me gel.
and she grew up in the hmm?
Give me gel.
Oh, and she grew up in an era where feminism was actually a thing. Women stepping up to the plate and taking the same jobs as men, not being viewed as, housekeepers. And I agree with that movement, that women should be viewed as equals. Well, I remember a couple years ago, maybe about 2.5 years ago, I told my mom, feminism is the dumbest thing that I've heard of. And I remember that she just blew up on me. She just started arguing with me, and then I sat her down and I showed her what modern feminism is, and she looked at it and said, this isn't what I was protesting for back in my day. This isn't what we stood for."
Because it's
She
not.
just looked at it and said, "This is stupid."
Notice how if you look at like modern, like if you look at, I guess I'm not gonna say modern, and I don't think regressive is the word. If you just look at like old school feminists that have now opened up their new groups, it's usually like women reform groups. They don't call themselves feminists anymore because not only is feminism a dirty word, but it doesn't. It's been turned. It's been skewed into what it used to be, which was about
It doesn't
it doesn't
it
portray
doesn't
what it used to.
it doesn't sit on the tongue well.
I guess.
For lack of a better word, it doesn't resonate with the general public anymore,
Is my
and so people don't use it.
Garrett, can you look at Skype? Is my camera on?
No, sir.
Why is? I hope this better not be recording my fucking crotch. Alright, go ahead. Sorry.
But what were we talking about? The
Feminist
feminism,
word.
the word feminism. That's right. And oh, that's right. I was talking about my opinions and how scary it is being a guy. And one of my biggest fears is I remember I was in this relationship, a long-term relationship with a girl, and every new girlfriend I get, I put them on birth control. If they're not on birth control, I get it for them. If they can't get it, I make sure that they can get it some way, or if even I get it for them. But
Wow,
but
way to be patriarchy, Garrett, forcing women on birth control. It's
well,
fucking
it's clearing my side. Was it the Blue Pill Society said is that men do have a choice
before.
at one point for, if a girl gets pregnant, because society and the courts favor a pregnant woman and what happens with the child over what the man has to say. Well, I take into action that, well, I'm going to say something now before it even gets to that point that you're going on birth control, and I'm just not going to deal with that situation in the future because I don't want to. So to avoid it altogether, you'll go on birth control. And I would be on birth control currently if it weren't for, a current recall on male birth control, because they're still trying to tweak
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't work. I was actually looking. I would prefer the testicle injection. Have you seen that one?
No, I have not.
They inject a gel into your scrotum so that it doesn't produce semen for as long
That's
as
weird.
until the expiration date of the gel.
That's weird.
It's kind of like a numbing kind of concept.
That's weird. But and I get that, but I always feared with this one girlfriend that I have, and I'm pretty sure you can guess which one it was. It was the first one.
The first one or
she
the
was on
most
the
recent
pill.
one?
The first one.
Okay.
She was on the pill. She wasn't on a depot. She wasn't on a patch or anything. She was on the pill. And we didn't live together. I couldn't just sit there and monitor her pills. And if I did, somehow I don't trust them anymore. And I believe that if you're in some kind of healthy relationship, yeah, you should trust your partner. But I believe making sure that you both are being trustworthy is a healthy thing. And my biggest fear is that she didn't take her pill one day, and not that she forgot, but that she purposely didn't take it just to get pregnant. And that always kind of scared me. And it really scared me. I always had like mini heart attacks a lot of the time because one time she did forget her pill, and it was like the longest 3 weeks that I've ever had, until 3 weeks later, I got my time of the month. Oh, cool. And just a sigh of relief comes over. But I remember I was talking to the most recent one, and when we first got together, I told her I don't want kids, and that kind of upset her. She was like, "Well, I want kids, this and that. You know, I can't wait to have kids."
Mm,
And if one point, if a girl says that, that should throw off a red flag right there.
not
But
necessarily. If she says she
not
can't wait,
necessarily.
then yeah, but just want, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. If she can't wait, that's the term there. But what she didn't understand is, and what I should have probably said is that I don't want kids right now, and I don't want kids soon. I want to establish a career. I want to, own my own home, or at least have most of my own home paid off. I want to see parts of the world that I haven't gotten to see before I have kids and I can't travel with them. Because, you really don't want to travel with someone that's less than 12, at least across the world. And sometimes kids are really awesome and, they don't misbehave. And most of the time they do misbehave. And let's be honest here, kids do that. And and I and so I looked at her and said, I really don't want kids until I'm about 30. And that bummed her out. And and at one point that kind of scared me that it bummed her out. So when she asked me, well, what kind of birth control should I take? I really kind of suggested, well, let's get the depot. You don't have to worry about taking pills and stuff. And I mostly just got the depot, so I could ensure, boom, 3 months, and I don't have to worry. And I don't know. That's just one of my fears, is being trapped in one of those, paternity issues that they're talking about in the movie.
I haven't told my wife yet, but when we do have a kid, not because I don't trust her, but because I don't trust the hospital, I'm getting a DNA test. I heard that what is it, 12? So we have there's 8,000 pregnancies every day or something. It's like 3,000 or 8,000, and out of that, at least 12 kids are given to the wrong parents. So whether that's myth or fact, I'm getting my kid fucking tested.
Well, and well, I mean, I'm gonna get a DNA test when I get a child, and that's just for the sheer fact of knowing, because like they hit on a few stories, is that guy raised
Five
five
kids,
kids,
all look the same.
and they all look the same, and the kid became ill and he needed blood, or got injured and he needed blood, and the dad said, well, take my blood, this and that. The doctor said, it's not a match, you can't take it. And he said, what do you mean? And the doctor said, he's not your son. And just imagine the emotional trauma and scarring that a man would go through, thinking that these 5 kids were his biological kids this whole time, and to know that all 5 of them are
Not his.
And he married this girl, loving her and thinking they're going to be together forever. And I don't know if he's still with her, but that'd just be a really shitty thing to look down the line and think, this isn't my kid, and to know that the person that you love forever is cheated on you, but not only cheated on you, but had a kid with someone else and then hid it from you.
And then had 4 other kids.
Yeah, and then had 4 other ones. But
I mean, the laugh at the guy's painting, but it's a little ridiculous.
yeah, but God, but but I would get a paternity test just for that fact. It's not that I don't trust them, but it's because I don't trust them. And I love them to death, and obviously if I'm marrying the girl and I'm having a child with her, that I love her that much to consider or to pursue a life with them, the rest of my life with them. But it'd be nice to know. And and here's the thing, in how I don't know how you would take it, but is if my wife either came straight up to me and told me this may not be your kid, and she was just honest about it, then I might look into it and be like, okay, you were honest about it. I'm gonna, commend it there, and we can look to heal this over and continue it together. But if I know that I had this kid, and 6 years down the line, the kid needs some help medically, and it turns out that the kid's not mine, and my wife hid that from me for so long, I would honestly file a divorce. And it's not for the sheer fact that she cheated on me, but it's the fact that she hid it from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't know how you feel about that. Or like, what would you do if in a similar situation?
I can't really count on them the same factor, because I've already established that, I'd probably stay with Chris no matter what, but if she cheated on me, there'd be like a drastic change in who I am. I don't know, I haven't really always been much of a short temper, but as I'm getting like older and older, I feel my like patience wearing thinner and thinner. I think something like that would just be too much for me to not lash out about. And then it's like Chrissy's always talked about, possibly adopting. Chrissy's not adopted, I'm not adopted, but the concept isn't, as a human being, I kind of want to pass on my blood, my flesh, but the concept of, reducing we've got a flooding population as it is. Maybe adopting a kid before having our own kid wouldn't be too bad of an idea.
Yeah.
And that way the kid's technically not yours either way. So it's not like there's a chance of any of that being an issue.
Well, and what you were saying with emotionally scarring, or like how your patience wearing thinner and you don't really know how you would handle that emotionally, is that I've had a few friends, and
Hold that thought.
And
who's Sonic Bliss?
That's Dustin.
He's messaging me.
What did he?
Called me a queer. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I've had a few friends who have been in and out of a lot of relationships, and me, I've only been in technically 2 major relationships, and I don't really count the other like week or 2 flirting with a couple girls that I've had, because I've only been physically with 2 girls, really.
I think you're off in that counting, Gare.
3.
You said physically. That's.
No, that's the truth.
4. The one that made you fucking start working out?
Yeah, that's one.
Okay. The young one?
What, Christina?
Yeah.
I didn't have sex with her, Jay.
Pretty sure you did.
No, I didn't.
Weren't
you
you her first?
Yeah. No.
I thought you were. Okay, good. I'm sorry.
But anyway,
fucking hell.
I'm not into one-night stands in short relationships. I'm in relationships for the long haul. I'm in it for quality. And my whole thing is, I was talking to some friends after I got diagnosed with depression, and they asked, like, where's it coming from? And honestly, I think it kind of started, the downhill decline started when, Emily told me that she cheated on me. And they looked at me and said, oh man, I've been cheated on too. Wasn't that bad? And I looked at him and said, yes, but that was with, this girlfriend, and you guys only knew each other for about a week. And with Emily, we were friends for 7 years. We started dating for 1.5 years. I lost my virginity to her. She lost it to me. We went through so much together. And then for her to come out and say that she's cheated on me, that really hits you in a mental spot that you don't come back from. and it's hard to resonate with other people because not too many people have been in similar situations that are my age.
Hmm.
And that's just kind of going with you know how would you feel if Chrissy G cheated on you?
And that's why I said it's like I can't really equivalent because I think I would turn into an angry person and probably an abuse. I already expressed this. I would probably be abusive to her, and I'd force her to stay.
And I mean that's you.
That's only what I can suggest, and that's me trying to be objective. Just like who am I gonna be after she cheats on me if she were to? It's like I can't sit here and say like, oh, I would definitely kill myself or something like. I don't know. I can only assume things.
Well, and I remember when I was getting diagnosed with depression and they were going to give me some medication for it. I had to have been asked at least a dozen times before they wrote the script, do you have thoughts of suicide? And I mean, obviously, I have
Doesn't
depression.
everyone like? I don't understand that question.
Like, well, everyone has thoughts of suicide. It's how frequently you have thoughts of depression. Have you ever acted upon it? Have you ever, been in a situation where you sat on your couch staring at a gun, wondering, are you going to have the balls to do it today? Um, but I mean, and everyone thinks about depression, but it's just I love life too much to want to off myself, and that's what I ended up telling the physician is that it's not really worth me killing myself because it's not an out. And I looked at him straight in the face. It's like, yes, I've thought of depression, or not depression, of suicide. Have I acted on it? I've tried to a few times in my past, but I've come to terms that suicide's not a viable option. It really isn't an out or a good out. I mean, it'll stop the pain for you, but imagine what it'll do to the people that actually did love you that you never saw. And imagine what would happen after you were gone. And that's the big thought is people think, oh, nothing's going to happen when you're gone. Everything's just going to keep on going and no one's going to notice or life's not going to skip a beat. But, and I mean, part of it's true, life keeps moving forward. But the thing is that at one point you have to realize no matter
Garrett, what size world is this, real quick?
what time, it's
Size.
a small
Oh,
world.
okay. Good.
But at one point, no matter what, there is always at least one person there that will notice that you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
No matter who you are, no matter what's going on, there will be one person. Sometimes it might take a while because of an introvert, how introverted you are, or how minimally you talk to people. But at one point, someone will notice that you are gone. And
No, but it's not a problem for men at all. No, 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 no. No. Men don't kill themselves. They're too manly. No, men kill
no,
themselves.
of course, it's only women that have depression, and it's
No, men don't get depressed.
not
That's for women. That's a fake disease
well,
for women.
well, seasonal affective disorder isn't classified as a diagnosable depression anymore.
Is that the thing where like, around the holidays you get really stressed out and bummed?
Yeah,
Okay. What's it called?
because a lot of people use seasonal affective disorder.
I thought it was just season depression. Christmas depression.
It's seasonal depression, technically. And that's what, technically, a lot of Americans have it, or a lot of people around the world have that. And the doctor thought that that's what I had because I came out with that I was sad around that time of year. But I think last year it was stated that it's no longer a diagnosable form of depression, that it's just a social issue. And so you can't get meds for seasonal affective disorder. It's just something that you have to deal with now. And they tried to hit on that when they were trying to give me meds. It's like, oh, are you sure you just got out of a long-term relationship? It's during the winter, this and that. And I looked at him and said, look, I've been sad for like most of my life, and I'm just now realizing it. and when I said that, their eyes kind of opened up and said, oh, okay, well, let me go ahead and get this script for you. But for most of my life, like when I met Nicole and things, I believed that depression was just some mental thing that people can get over. You just don't think sad thoughts and you're happy. Even though I was one of the saddest people I knew, I didn't believe that depression was a real thing. And now that I've gone through a lot of emotional trauma, whether it been created by myself or people around me, I now believe and understand that it is a real issue, and what goes on through your head when you have depression. And it's just like when I was at Ben's, right?
Uh-huh. Oh wait, hold on for a second. Pretty sure I sent you something in text.
Yeah, no, I'm splitting this up.
Okay.
But I remember I was at Ben's, right? And I told him, I was diagnosed with depression because I don't think he knew. And he said, well, why don't you just think happy thoughts,
That's not
this
how
and
that
that.
works.
I don't understand.
Jesus Christ. That's not how that works.
And, well, he says he wants to be a psychologist too, so it doesn't make any sense. But he said that he thinks the idea of depression is stupid, and that if you don't think negative thoughts, this and that. And I said, Ben, I used to think the same thing, but I now realize that that you can't really control it. That it's like this scenario of you walk into a room and this person says this thing, this person says this thing, and this person just says some outrageous shit that freaks everyone out, right? Because it's what pops into your head first. And depression's kind of like that dude on the end that says the outrageous thing. But it's not because, he consciously thought that. They consciously thought, they jumped to this conclusion, and, it's a horrific conclusion. It's because that's just what their mind sees first. It's like what, and my dad actually asked me this today when I was cutting some of the fence wire. He said, does it make you feel like you're escaping prison or letting people out of prison? And it's a first thought instinct. Do you feel like you're a hero or a victim? And, your brain tailors to that. And with the whole idea of depression, what happens is, you'll think of one negative thought, whether it was something that happened in a relationship years ago or something that happened 2 days ago. And since your mind has that thought that you might be a victim or however it thinks, that it'll just continually grab onto that sad thought and create more. It'll run with it, and you don't have control over that.
I thought it was weird how women, radical feminists don't think men are ever or could ever be victims, and I feel like that's not how the world works. I don't see where I can understand. I can understand when if I disagree with an idea, I can understand where that may come from. But that's not how the world works. You can't pick and choose like that.
Well, and back to the movie, and sorry I ranted so much about my depression, but it's just that it's just one of those things that I now realize is a thing, and I feel like everyone should at least know. But it's like, the whole idea of, if Chrissy cheated on you, or I know what happened to me when I was cheated on like that, or that guy that, was in this custody battle about his kids, and the day before, the courts told him that he would no longer be able to see his kids again. And not for the fact that he wasn't a bad father or a good father or anything. He was an excellent father and he was an excellent choice. It's that the courts favored the mother and favored what and believed her. And that killed him. That crushed him. And he went out to the desert and ate a bullet. And, but somehow men can't be victims of depression and things that happen to them. And that goes back to the whole, gender roles thing. That, men have to be the provider and the contributor. And for a feminist to say that, men aren't affected by depression, men can't be affected by things that happen, is just saying that, men have to be manly. Men can't show emotion. Men, have to be the provider.
See, but again, it goes back to the whole thing. It's like none of that that's not how the world works. You can't just say male privilege. One of the things is less susceptible to cancer. It's like no, that's not how science works. That's not how basic logic. The lawyer guy in that office, like he was like, yeah, the world needs common sense because like anyone can get fucking depression. Not every, but most biological parents who are able love their kids. It shouldn't be a matter of like, yes, women should have control of their body. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but once it's the kid's out of your body now, that is no longer your decision. You are both parents. You both gave into creating that child. That's totally biased. That the father has no say whatsoever. And again, this is nothing new by any means. This has been going on for decades now.
Yeah, and
yet every time they want to pass a bill, they get fucking shut down for no reason.
Because the court system favors the woman, but somehow we live in a society that favors men, even though women are favored.
And again, like
way more than
she
men.
she showed perfectly how brainwashed she was. She was like, "Oh, I don't know. I wanted to defend women." And it's like, yeah, because you've been brainwashed that like, I'm not saying women have it easy by any means, but like everybody, every person who's not upper class, upper middle is struggling. Everyone is struggling. By what?
Well, it's not even a title of economic status either. It's not some status quo of
but
money.
Usually money can sweep, like, money makes things a little easier to sweep under the rug. Don't you think?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, well, the saying money talks and bullshit walks. But, I mean, men aren't affected and women should have...
I don't want you to feel like I attacked you with that statement.
No, give me back on track. Give me back on track.
Men and women are both having hurdles through life and are both suffering.
Yeah, men and women, everyone has equal hurdles, whether they're economic status or not. We all have that hard job interview. We all have that, issue that we're thinking about. We all have that, fear of life or something that's going to happen, or those huge hurdles that we have to get over in life, like,
and these things
turn 21 or turn 22 and we have to start paying real bills now, and we have to come away from our parents. Those are real issues that everyone has to deal with, not just, a specific gender.
It's not a patriarchal thing. It's just a fucking, it's I don't know how to like describe it. It's issues. That's it. That's all it is. It's just issues that people have. Just because it turns into a stereotype doesn't make it patriarchal. Just because women tend not to be CEOs doesn't mean that there's a secret malice of law that fights against you becoming a CEO. It just means that, women probably aren't giving 110%, or maybe they don't want to be CEOs. There's plenty of high-end positions right underneath CEO. CEO isn't the highest, and it's definitely nowhere close to the lowest. And there's plenty of middle ground for women or anyone looking for a high-paying job to fill. Like, there's no patriarchy. This isn't like Sudan, or I actually don't know Sudan's government system, but this isn't like
Um,
this isn't an oppressive country. There are no laws oppressing you because of your gender, let alone oppressing you, period. Like,
mhm.
it just makes no sense and it doesn't add up. And this is why feminists, although they have a big following, lose. They lose to logic because logic is fucking how to win things. And all they're winning is the fucking numbers game. That's it. That's all they're fucking winning. Is they have more followers in their fucking cult. That's it.
Well, and here's the thing: is that you say that, but it's they don't. That's the thing: is that they just keep showing up at the right time. They just there's just women in high places that consider themselves feminists, so it gets pushed through the media a lot easier. So it seems like, a big thing that they have a lot of people and a lot of following. But in reality, it's less than 7% of US women consider themselves a feminist.
Oh well, they they could say women's activists and still be meaning feminism. Just by the way.
But, well, more than, is it 97% of women agreed that um, both genders should be viewed as equal.
Yes, but they don't. What you agree? I could say I agree that like black people. I don't even know. Like you can say something and not follow through with it. And by example, those bring our girls home thing. How big was that? I remember when that was in the news. It was such a big thing, and I looked up what it was, and it was like, oh, that's fucked up. I didn't realize until recently that there were like this had been going on since like fucking what they say '02, right?
Yeah.
That's a fucking long time for us now to fucking come out with a hashtag in 2014 and fucking bring our girls back just because they started stealing girls. Because they know how Western society works.
That they wanted attention, so they stole a bunch of girls to get on the media.
Did you take the chest that was there?
Yes.
Join Red Team, by the way. Since this is the Red Pill fucking podcast, the Red Pill podcast.
Find it more of a rant than
Red
anything.
Pill Rant podcast. RPRP. Red Pill Rant
RPRRPR.
podcast.
But
Where are you? Join Red Team.
I gotta get in the house.
Oh, you're not. Alright,
There's
I'm
just
headed
a lot
back
of
up.
zombies.
I want you to put the chest down. So I'm not fucking carrying everything. But continue.
But or I don't know. At one point, it's just kind of sad to see a lot of feminists. At one point, like to see how feminists really feel, and to know that that's not actually an issue. It's just something that they were brainwashed to think. And, then a feminist could argue, oh, you were just brainwashed to think that. But even if you just take 2 minutes to sit down and think about it, it makes so much more sense than what feminism tries to spew. And it's just kind of sad to see all these feminists protesting and being semi-violent. I wouldn't necessarily call it violence,
Vulgar.
but vulgar. Yeah, there you go. They're being extremely vulgar.
And then I always find it. I'm sorry, but I find it hilarious that the men and women who are sitting between the two groups to protect everyone are sitting there getting fucking cursed the fuck out for literally sitting there to protect everyone.
Yeah,
Fuck you! You fucking
the cops.
protected these people. You fucking malice motherfucker. Fuck you. And he's like, yeah, okay. As long as you don't throw
if
stuff.
something were to happen, and if something were to happen in like that scenario, guess who's gonna save you?
Cops.
That person you were just cussing out.
Drop the chest, scare.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But there were also certain things that I didn't agree on in terms of like the men, the fucking. I feel like certain things were exaggerated, like the whole breast cancer, prostate cancer thing. I understand it on the fucking surface, but what you need to understand is that not only is prostate cancer have a high success rate for battling, which is one of the reasons why it's so fucking low in funding, but it's also like it's not as common as breast cancer is, and it's again it's easier to
I mean,
fight.
it's actually it's only like 3% less common than breast cancer.
That, but
It's
it's
pretty
also got a
neck
high
neck.
success rate.
And that's
It's like,
true. And
and then it's,
so breast cancer is coming around too to have
honestly,
similar
I think
success
that's
rates.
more of just selfishness. Women just need to cut off their breast. Just cut off your breast. Stop being so self-conscious. Get
Well,
rid of it.
well, you want to know a big reason why the Pink Ribbon or the Susan B. Komen Foundation and breast cancer awareness is still a thing is because of the Susan B. Komen Foundation, which is a foundation I just despise.
You know what they do? I don't.
Well, you know the Pink Ribbon,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, everyone knows the
Right.
Pink Ribbon. Well, that Pink Ribbon represents breast cancer awareness, but the company that started the Pink Ribbon is called the Susan B. Komen Foundation,
Mhm.
and they own the Pink Ribbon.
Okay.
They have trademarked it. They own it, and so it's just a joke because that foundation is the only reason breast cancer awareness is a thing, and the only reason it is a thing because of that foundation is because it's a money cow. It's just a huge cash cow that they keep banking on day in day out. You know what time breast cancer awareness comes around, how many Mike's Hard Lemonades do you see saying buy this pack to support it, but buy this pink ribbon to support it, and where do you think that money is going to? It's going straight to the Susan B. Komen
Mhm.
Foundation. And what the thing is if the foundation was actually putting their money towards cancer research, I wouldn't hate them so much. But less than 2% of all their donations, mind you, they are a charity donation system. So less than 2% of all of their donations go towards
Breast cancer. Yeah.
cancer research. Towards breast cancer
Mhm.
research. And this is on their website that about 23% of all donations go towards legal actions against maluse of the pink ribbon.
So copyright fights.
Copyright fights. 23%. Now, mind you, they make I don't know how many millions of dollars a year,
Aren't they a
but
non-profit?
yeah, they're nonprofit too. That's what I was trying to hit on. They're a charity donation.
So then where's the money going?
Everything they make is nonprofit.
It's,
It's going straight into the CEO's
then
pocket. And
that's
who's the
profit.
CEO? They can't pay it off because it's still a charity. They're still giving the minimal amount to cancer research, so they can still pay it off as a charity. So it's nonprofit. They don't pay taxes for it. It's all non-taxed.
Mhm.
And whose pocket do you think that money's going into? I'll give you a hint. It's in the name.
Mhm.
And it's just ridiculous, Imagine what that 23% could actually do instead of trying to sue people because they drew a pink ribbon on a banner. Imagine what that 23% could actually go towards cancer research. Imagine the innovations that we would have had already if that, I don't know, some $100 million actually went towards cancer research.
And then another thing that I disagreed with was the whole genital mutilation thing. Like, so I guess this is pretty.
That was that was a one-topic thing about how in some cultures they sew a girl's vagina
right, but
together so it stays tight through the whole life
for
or some shit.
they were referring to circumcision though. They were talking about male,
Yeah.
which I don't agree. Like, this may seem very anecdotal, but my grandfather, my uncle, you remember my uncle, right? Big black dude.
Yeah.
He got circumcised at about 13, and he says it is
Hmm.
the worst because it got, his stuff got infected and stuff, so he had to get circumcised. And he was like, it was the worst experience. He still remembers the pain. And so it's like,
And
obviously, like people say, oh well, soap and water. It's like, well, stuff still happens. Like soap and water isn't gonna
well,
protect
and
you.
here's the thing is, obviously I know some of my friends who are uncircumcised and things like that. Not that, we've shown each other's dicks off and are like, oh, you're uncircumcised. No, we just talk about it. And it's just, you know,
It didn't seem
I've
like
had
an
a lot of
issue.
friends. I've had a lot of friends say that genuinely it's kind of harder to keep clean because at one point you do have to physically clean it. You have to you have to roll back the skin and legit scrub it. Whereas if you're uncircumcised, you just, the shampoo suds can come down and you just give it a quick rub instead of, peeling skin back and trying to scrub it. But the thing is that most of the time when I hear people say, oh, my kid wasn't circumcised, those people usually end up taking their kid to the hospital for some issue with their genitals
Which is why I disagreed with
at
the
an early
whole,
age.
male, you know, it's like it's not a big deal. It's not an issue. It's a healthy thing. Let the kids get circumcised. They're never gonna feel it. They're never gonna fucking remember it. They're fucking
And that's the
one
thing. It's
hour
like
old, not even 30 minutes old. Like, fuck off. Honestly,
that's what's the other thing is just here's some marble if you want it.
I don't think
But
we're going that far in this game.
but that's the thing is I was actually having this discussion with someone when I lived out in Colorado that oh, just look at the baby screaming. I'm like, yeah, the kid's probably in pain, but I don't know if I'm using the terminology right, but it's sentient pain. Like your uncle remembers that pain because he was conscious, he was
He's
sentient.
13.
Where if you're like an hour old, you're not sentient. You're not aware that you're alive. And
Oh
so you
shit.
won't remember any of that.
I feel you. It's like, how many people remember anything before 5? I literally have a single memory before I was 5. Or I have 2 memories.
I have a few
That's
memories before I was
like,
5, but like I can't paint you a picture, like
I only have 2. And they're vague and blurry and fucking like 2 seconds long each.
yeah.
Dick, fucking move.
Like it's
I feel like they were kind of reaching for that one.
yeah, they were
All
pretty
the
reaching
and it
for
was weird how they like included it at the end. Like the whole movie, valid points, reasoning, okay, but then at the end they added this like very like
It was like it's like bullshit in a paper in college. Like you have to have like 5 topics in there, and you've got like 4 really good ones. And like second to last paragraph, you've been going so strong. Just a 2-sentence like blurb about this. They're just trying to really squeeze it in there and force it in.
I feel like because of my prior knowledge, I really give it like a 6 out of 10 or maybe a 7 out of 10. I don't know. It was weird to see the feminists quote unquote struggle with now being a feminist anymore, and it was just like, well, maybe you should just be a person. Like, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, I'm independent, and I feel like that's, like, I know this may seem a little off topic, but if you look at, like, India's system, there's no, it's like people voting for groups. You've got, like, imagine, like, a pie chart cut into, about, like, 35 different slices. And it's whoever the public, votes for, whoever's got the better policies and the stronger, just, like, omission of things.
Or right at the end when they were talking about the draft. Remember right at the end they brought back the whole topic of the draft and being forced to
With
join
Hillary.
it, and they gave that Hillary topic. I was unaware that Hillary actually said that people should be forced to register to vote when they turn 18, even though it's in the Constitution that it's our choice to vote.
No, to register.
And
It's our choice to vote, but But remember, you have to register to vote. You can't just go someplace and just vote.
yeah, but here's the thing: is when you register to vote, that comes with other duties. Like you could be called on for a jury trial.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on jury
You
duty.
could get pink slips. You have to register to vote.
I am registered to vote.
Well then, just waiting on it. I want the statue.
Okay. I mean, they're both yours anyway. Here. And I think we're coming back here. Okay. Speaking of which, I'm about an hour 20 in.
Oh, on the recording?
Yeah. You want to start wrapping this up? Or
I don't know if you... I mean, I'm just going to keep going and cut it in and out.
Shit. Oh, there's another heart. All you, bro.
Sweet.
Oh, we're dead. So, but yeah, so I feel like they could have. I don't, and I don't. It was weird. They showed that she interviewed like fucking 6 other people at least, and didn't get their fucking opinion.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, but at the end of the day, as much as you could talk about feminism, and as much as you can sit here and rant...
That was weird. Hello?
Oh, sorry. But at the end of the day, I mean, as much as you can talk about feminism, and as much as you can rant, and as much as you can discuss and argue, at the end of the day, I feel like this is just one of those horses that you've led to water, and it's just not going to drink, you know? At the end of the day, I feel like it's just a topic that's been constantly spoken about. And I mean, yes, it's a popular topic. It's fun to talk about, but I feel like, honestly, Jay, you gotta get your headset under control.
Hello.
Where did you hear me?
So I like how now my fucking headset doesn't make a sound anymore. It just dies. That's fucking great. Fucking hold on. I need a sec. Hello. At the end of the day.
But at the end of the day, it's one of those topics that just keeps getting beaten to death, you know?
And it's gonna keep getting beaten to death until it's no longer a fucking issue. And we're on the same page and nobody's fucking stupid. Just fucking falsities spit left and right. It's like, yeah. Fucking... We're just gonna keep spouting incorrect information based because we got our feelings hurt. Like I honestly don't know what other reason there is behind it other than, you know, running off of misinformation.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I believe that the whole argument and debate, obviously it's not going anywhere. Because this is a debate amongst the people. It's not a debate against government of the people, against people in the government. You know, I believe that this is one of those marks in history that's going to get waved over and not put in a book. And that's why I don't know, like I enjoy talking about this topic, but I believe that it's just an over talked about topic.
As it is.
Because it's not gonna go anywhere. It's not some uprising against the government. It's not some huge issue with mass murder or anything like that. It's just 2 people not agreeing, but somehow trying to get to the same point.
2 groups not agreeing.
2 groups or 2 types of people. but two groups not agreeing but trying to get to the same point and don't realize that they're trying to get to the same point.
And notice how she pointed out one of the fucking falsities that they said. Oh, you know, if Menonists were real, not Menonists, sorry. If MGM,
Men's activists?
yeah, men's activists, were really on our side, then they wouldn't advocate for reduced funding on women's places. And she's like, they never said that. And that's right, because fucking they didn't say that. They were just talking about how men's issues were being ignored. They never denied women's issues at all. But the women's activist guy said that they were denying it. So he fucking lied right there.
Yeah,
And even if he didn't lie, then he spoke out of fucking misinformation, which is not unusual in the fucking feminist community. Shit.
But, you know, like I said, I believe that, you know, it's just going to be a place in history that's not going to happen. But here's the thing is, there was something that happened recently, or is there's just some big topic, and it's dead now.
Okay.
And I can't remember what. Like, you know, the whole fucking clown thing and shit.
Do you have a sapphire? Give me your amethyst. Give me your amethyst.
I got a lot of topaz.
Give me everything. Yeah.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh. But, you know, I believe that, honestly, the government's not caring. I believe it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go to the courts. Every time feminists have tried to go to the courts or in front of the EU for some reason and stuff like that, or the UN, not EU, but the fucking UN and stuff, they just get shut down because it's not an issue. And my thing is that
your thing is
that you know, and not to sound like you know, someone who's like paranoid or into conspiracy theories, but I believe that the government's just letting this roll through to hide political views in some way, shape, or form. I believe that they're just letting us argue amongst ourselves so they can go behind our backs and do things. You know, I can't remember what brother company owns this oil company. And essentially they promote things like this. They promote riots and whatnot because they want anarchy. They want us to overthrow our government. Because if there's total anarchy, there's no form of government. And with that, they can take the idea of their prices of oil and skyrocket it. They can just charge out the ass for oil and just ruin the economy. And I can't remember what company to name it. I can't remember what company would do that. And I believe that, you know, that's kind of what this whole feminist issue is that it's just some, not screen that the government's played in, but I believe that it's just something the government's letting happen because, one, it's not a huge issue to them, but two, I believe that they're using it to their advantage to hide stuff that they're going to end up doing. I don't know how you feel about that.
I would love to see your sources.
I need to find them.
Like, quite a concept to come out.
What the idea of anarchy?
Yes, Garrett. The idea of anarchy is unheard of to me before. Talking about the whole... like, there would have to be like a lot of backing for this, and this company would have to have like a lot of money to have to... like. I don't think a fight between two groups about gender idealism of any kind is gonna sit there and... what the fuck was that?
Well, I'm not saying feminism's... Oh, no, I'm not saying feminism's going to cause total anarchy. I'm just giving an example. I wish I could remember the name of the company that would do that, but I'm not saying they're using feminism. I'm just saying that they promote people arguing. They promote riots. And major companies have admitted, even McDonald's has admitted, that they put out mass propaganda and fake leaders of, you know, of people's rights movements to go against what they actually, to go for what they actually want when they feel like they're going
Okay,
against it, like a major
that's
corporation.
fine, but that doesn't enforce the concept that like it benefits anarchy would benefit them in any way to allow them to skyrocket their prices. Because if that's the case, then people could just stop buying. Like that's the reason we have fast foods winning in the first place, because they're the cheaper alternative to healthy food. The fuck is this? 7 seconds of immunity? I've never seen this item. A lava charm. Fucking grab this. You see where I'm coming from?
No, I understand where you're coming from, but and you're just trying to see how the idea of anarchy would benefit a company like that.
Like, anarchy would. I can think of a few places that would benefit from anarchy, but I can't see oil companies being one of those companies. Compared to like a sporting goods place that sells bats or like, yeah, or like, alcohol companies, because they would, Molotov cocktails are like one of the most common weapons used by like the everyday man. You know what I mean? See how that all that makes sense?
No, I understand that. I mean, that's just general consumerism. There's, let me fucking find it and I can tell you.
So overall, I feel like the movie could have expressed. I feel like she could have done the movie a bit better. I appreciate that she looked into these things and then just go by like word of mouth and actually interviewed everyone. And I feel like it was, I don't know, I feel like it was kind of a neutral approach, even though it was kind of obvious that like the feminists were wrong from the beginning. What was that lag spike? No aim. Oh man. What are you doing right now?
Finding anarchy.
Finding anarchy?
I mean,
If anything, what is it? What does it say? Something like, I don't know, I can't think of an example right now. Fucking. I was gonna try and come up with an example how like riots help like BLM in some way, but I can't pick up an idea. Because BLM is like one of
here it
the,
is.
okay.
Under global research, in a nutshell, in the era of corporate anarchy, corporations do not have to abide by any rules. None at all, legal, moral, or ethical. Even financial rules are irrelevant. They have all been rescinded to the pursuit of profit. Literally nothing else matters. As a result, corporations currently exist in a state of almost pure anarchy. But an anarchy directly related to their size, the larger the corporation, the greater the absolute freedom to do as it acts and pleases. That's why so many medium-sized corporations are hellbent on growth over profit. The biggest of them all, like BP and Goldman Sachs is the company I was trying to remember, live in a positively Hobbesian state of nature, free to do as they please without a consequence.
Okay.
Essentially, if there was anarchy amongst the people, there would be corporate anarchy, meaning that they can jack up the prices. And if they're a huge corporation like BP and Goldman Sachs that just dominate the market, right? If they were to jack up their oil prices, they would profit completely off of it. They would make tons and tons and tons and tons of money because at one point people will, or companies will, have to buy oil. And if they don't, the world will fall apart. Things won't get shipped, people will not get their imports, and many countries will go down.
Right, but that's
Many
that's
people
why they
will
do.
die.
That's why what they're saying is what the article said was that that's why they do stuff in anarchical places where the government is like minimal.
Yes.
But if
Yeah, and so in the U.S., imagine if the U.S. went under
but our
anarchy
government would
and
have to
overthrew
shut
our
down
government.
for long enough for them to do that, which it won't, and it never has. Like that's quite an ambitious thing to like try and do. Like that's why they do a lot of business out of country, because out of country that's fucking easy as fuck. Like fucking piece of shit. This fucking hoplite is like pissing me off. I can't get an angle on him. There we go, fucking asshole. I can sit there. Grab your wee ones. Assholes. Oh, leg spike. So, did you enjoy the movie?
Yeah, it was alright.
It was alright. Nah, Gary. You gotta say you loved it. You wanted it inside you. That's the correct answer. Ah, bitch. Why am I so itchy? So, I think that covers everything. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm open to hear. Like, you got anything?
no, I don't. I'm too tired
You're
to
too tired.
fucking.
The fuck? Maybe you should stop putting up that fence. What's your dad paying you for that, by the way?
$120. For the past 2 days, so like $60 a day.
That's not bad. I want your dad stiffing you. I guess we got corruption, because I just found some purple fucking metal that I can't mine. So, I guess, I don't think we're gonna do the skin for like another movie, are we? Unless it's like a heavily political movie.
Well, one, I just kind of wanted to rant about that, and I can throw it in, but mostly I'm gonna try to have us just kind of keep hitting topics and talking like that, because I really do want us to like start a YouTube channel together.
We have a YouTube channel individually.
Yeah, but I want us to have one.
What, like Cow Chop or some shit?
Yeah.
What is it? It's Cow Chop? I think it's Cow Chop, right?
But I'm just gonna kind of keep doing recordings of this and whatnot.
I'm still recording.
For us to kind of get more comfortable and used to the idea of just talking like that. For us to, get to the idea of maybe talking to an audience that's not sitting in front of us.
I've recorded more than you have, so like.
Yeah, but you hardly talk.
I've been getting better with my videos. All right, you need to watch some.
Yeah, you've been getting better, but you hardly directly talk to the audience.
No, that's all I do is talk to the audience. I feel like you haven't watched my 2016 videos at all, which I'm not blaming you for. I'm just saying you can't make assumptions based on fucking turning into a feminist, Gare.
Okay. Give me a title of one that you're talking about.
I don't know, bro. I just talk to people. I don't have a topic that I talk about. I'm just like, oh, I just got fucked and shit.
No, that's topic. But where you acknowledge topics where you acknowledge that there's an audience.
Yeah, see, you guys all the time, and I express I remember one of my rants. I was talking about how difficult I found it to think of topics to bring up, because other than that, I'm just cursing at myself, and about how shit I am at the game, and I know it's probably not entertaining for you guys and shit like that, fucking. I can't be like my favorite YouTubers. Fucking, and no, Markiplier is not one of them. Seamus, because I love Seamus. SSOH PKC. I think he got sick again because he stopped recording. It's been a couple months. And anytime he's like,
But yeah, but it's not even, it's not even just constantly talking about topics or whatever. It's just getting the idea of talking and keeping up a
well, it's
conversation.
not a conversation. That's the thing. It's a commentary. I feel like that's what you're confused. You're talking to yourself.
Well, no, and then we can do commentary, like over games and things like that of things that are happening. But even at that, I believe that to get a decent viewing status, you at least have to engage the audience and at least talk a lot, even if it, or not even a lot, but just a decent amount.
Anyway.
I mean,
what was I gonna do? This, that, and there. Alright. So I'm gonna end it here, because I don't know. I don't know. You're gonna have to decide what you do with this world, because you're the one who fucking made. Thanks for letting me save, dick. That's why you suck me dry. What? Oh man, you know what we should do? We should fucking play Magic together. Like, you can find like a fucking PC version where we don't have to drop cash on. Where's my phone with?
there is a PC
That's
version.
free.
Yeah.
Oh damn, should probably get that. All right. Well, I'm gonna cut it here. So, boop.